Hello, and this is Jo from the Crafty Nomad, and I just wanted to do a little video because we are in the middle of our Tumbling Spools mug rug swap, and I've had a couple of comments about how binding is really tricky to do on small micro mini quilts. So I thought I would record a little video on how I do mine, and also I wanted to refer you to somebody else who does a slightly different technique, which is also really cool, and that's Leslie from Berry Birdie, who is known for doing micro mini sew-alongs, and her video is also really helpful and has got a different technique that's quite interesting, and I will add the link to that one at the bottom of this one. Her one avoids having to do a join by using this piece of ribbon just to go over the join, so that's a neat idea, and you can do that, and she uses single fold binding, double fold binding, whereas I'm using single fold. So you know, just another option basically. So if you have a look at what I'm doing and you think don't think I like that, you know, then go ahead and check out Leslie's tutorial as well, because you might find that actually you prefer that one. So for today I'm going to be showing you how I join my binding in the traditional way, and I'm going to do that on this little quilt that's ready just here, with my binding that's ready just here. Okay, so we're going to take this binding, and the binding has been folded in half, wrong sides together and pressed, and as I said, this is 2 inches wide, so this now brings that to 1 inch. And what we're going to do is just going to place this raw edge of the binding along the raw edge of the quilt, and we're going to line that up, and then we're going to fold the corners so that they are going to end up being nicely mitered. And so to do that, all you're doing is turning the binding up at a 45-degree angle so that it's nice and straight along this edge, and then you fold it back on itself to create that nice corner, and you keep doing that until you get back to where you started. Obviously it is a little fiddly. Now we do need to do this corner as well, so we're going to fold that. We will be undoing it again in a minute, but just so we've got that done and we know where our join needs to be, it's really important. So I've got that just clipped at the moment, and what I need to do is I actually need to pin this end up here. So I'm just going to make sure that's nicely aligned with that top edge and pop a pin in place just to hold that steady, and then I can take out this clip here, and what I like to do is to put in another pin up this end just here, so it's pinned like this. This needs to be nice and flat when we do the next piece, so I'm just going to take that clip out and lay that nice and flat. I can redo that in a little while. And then up here, what we'll do is we will lay this flat and open it, and we will take this pin and re-pin through all of the layers, and that way we can then take this clip out and again lay that nice and flat and pop the pin through all of those layers. Having those clips out enables us to use our ruler along this edge and also keep all of the layers nicely aligned. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I've got a little 4.5-inch ruler. You can use any small one. The big ones are fine too. They're just a bit cumbersome when you're working with a small project. So you'll need one with a 45-degree line on it, and I'm going to line that up with the top edge just there. And then I'm going to just draw in a line along that edge, carefully remove that pin and just flip this back and draw a corresponding line underneath, just there. So once you've got those lines on, you can take the other pin out, and what you need to do is to cut a 1/4 inch further on, so you're adding your seam allowance past the line, and the same on the other side. Make sure you cut the right side of the line, otherwise your binding will end up too short, which obviously nobody wants. And then you need to join those ends together. Now it can be tricky to know where to join them, so if it helps you, just pop those folds back in so that you can see kind of where you are going to be joining. So once you have figured that out, you can pop those sides together, those edges together. Make sure that the end of the line you've drawn crosses the point where the fabric is, so you've got this little dog end on here, and pop a pin through. Make sure the other end is also matching up nicely. So then you can sew along the line, and once you've sewn along the line, we're just going to press that open, trim off the dog ears, and then we'll be ready to stitch it on. When you're ready to sew along here, it can be really tricky, you know, to get this under the machine with this here. So literally just fold that out of the way so that it's not in your way, and then you can just line that up and stitch down that line. And then what you'll do is just trim off those corners and press this open, and then you're ready to pin it to the front. Okay, so that's stitched all on, and you can see I've just pressed the seam open and pressed it back together, and now I just need to refold these corners so that it all lines up and sits nicely. So we'll just do that. Okay, so once you've got that all clipped back on, you can now stitch this to the front. So use 1/4 inch seam allowance coming down here, just the same way as you would normally attach binding. So the way I would do it is I would start a 1/4 inch down from this top edge and a 1/4 inch in, which is about here, and I can just about see my fold line there as well, which is really helpful. If any of the clips get in your way, you know, then just take them out and hold it in place whilst you do that. Generally do some reverse stitches along there, and I'm using my 1/4 inch guide, which is just a groove on this foot, and I know that when I come to this is going to be in the way, so I'm just going to shift that along so it's not, and fold the binding towards me, and I will stop stitching a 1/4 inch from this bottom edge here and just do a few reverse stitches and cut that, and then turn it and do the same on all the other 3 edges. If you feel any of your clips getting in the way or getting caught on the table or something like that, then just obviously stop and move them out of the way so that they don't hinder your progress. Okay, so that's kind of what it's looking like at the moment. And what you need to do now is take that over to the iron and press it so that you're pressing the binding away from the front of the quilt. And do that on all four sides. It's a little bit tricky. Travel iron size can be really helpful for this, just to make sure that you get in there and push that away from there. So I've pressed those all those away there, and now what I want to do is just to flip this over to the back. So you can do that like that, and then turn that over so that you can see the back. And what you want is nice crisp corners, so to get those, just pop those corners all the way in to the binding. And then what I do generally is to start by folding from the centre across, and I'll be using my binding clips just to hold those in place. And I would avoid the corner for now, and just do two adjacent sides. And then you can turn your attention to the corner. So if we have a look at the front, the corner's looking quite crisp and nice, and 90-degree corner with the lovely mitre just there. And then if we have a look more closely, this side is over the top and this side is coming in, and I like to alternate mine so that on the back this side here will be underneath and this side will be coming over the top, and it generally gives me a flatter finish. You might need to take the clip off in order to get a nice finish. You might want to press this with an iron just to really press that in there, and then you want the fold to come from the point all the way across, and it should give you a really nice corner. And then you can pop your clip back on, check the front still looks nice, and then you'll do that on all the other corners, and then your hand stitch to finish, just to stitch that in place, and that give you a lovely finish. So just to show you that again on the second corner just here, just going to fold that over, pop a clip in place, have a look here, this is the one going over, this is the one under, so I will do this over side first so that it becomes the under. Really push that nice and flat when you fold this over, and then you can clip that in place. If anything's shifted, just reclip, and continue all the way around. The other thing that you can do to get a nice crisp corner is that when you've pushed that down, if you take some sort of implement, and it can be an awl or a seam ripper or something like that, and you're just going to hold this piece down here in place whilst you fold it over, and that will help you to get that lovely nice 45-degree angle on your mitre at the back there, just to keep things nice and neat. So there's mine all ready to hand sew in place. It really doesn't take long to hand sew a mug rug in place because there's just so little of it, so it should be fairly straightforward. And there we have it all finished. So beautifully mitered corners, you can barely see the join just here, and then if we flip it over you can see the back all hand sewn in place with nice mitered corners. Hopefully that's helped. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments, send me an email, The website is www.thecraftynomad.co.uk, and like I said, there is an alternative way to do this from Leslie at Berry Birdie, so I will put that link into the comments as well below, so do be sure to look up that one as well, because it's an alternative and you may prefer to do it that way. But happy sewing, and if you're joining in with the swap, have fun.